Awesome, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of It Is What It Is podcast. I'm your host, Cody Kelly. Look, subscribe on the YouTube page. You want to keep seeing amazing content, subscribe at the link below. It's actually in the link. I actually included it on this live stream. I have an amazing episode today with an amazing guest, First Ladies on Politics, featuring none other than Mother First Lady Deborah Fierce. How you doing today?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm not too bad for just an old Kojic preacher. Not too bad at all. Not too bad at all. No, but I'm super excited. We have just ended probably the most stressful presidential election series or season ever, right? I think we're all just exhausted. We're all just tired of it all.
Yes.
But there's, a lot that led up to it and a lot that has to follow. Right. So I want to first start there. What was your thoughts on this whole just election coverage, from debates to just everything? There was so much to unpack. What were your initial thoughts?
Well, my initial thoughts were that I can sense the tension and the enthusiasm across the country and people, because it was so much at stake. And anybody that does not recognize the fact that this political climate that we're in this country and in around the world is not critical, and weren't laser focused in on this on this election. They're not into it, but it's more than just being into politics with this. And even if I found that even people that don't follow politics like I like to follow politics, they would ask me what they saying, what you think, what they saying, what you think, because they were questioning, what's going on, because they can see that things were really out of whack.
No, that makes sense. So as a first lady, right, you get to see it all, and you have to have a stance, right? Mm-hmm. When you heard, and Paula White, God bless her, right, praying, trying to, call down heaven, praying to, I guess, our ancestors in Africa, as if they were actually going to help Donald Trump, right?
Right.
What was your thoughts when you heard the televangelist Paula White call down African angels? Like, you skipped over everybody else, just call down our ancestors and try to intercede.
Well, basically, from my experience, not having done a recent theme study on angelic beings and things of that nature, but I do know that it was suspect to me. It didn't agree with my sensibilities or my spirit when I heard it. Number one, I know that angels do work, and I believe that angels do work in the earth realm, in the different layers of heaven, that they're ministering, they're coming back and forth before the throne of God. They assemble themselves before the throne of God. They come back to heaven. I believe that angels are on assignment. And certainly angels are assignment in around about us. They're encamped around about us. So in that sense, certainly angels can have assignments. Now, whether in all of my 40 some odd years of being around holiness and Pentecostalism, where we believe in angels being on assignment and ministering, I have never heard anyone call an angel from one region to another region for a specific issue. That doesn't make me right. I just didn't feel it in my spirit as being right. And it was I was suspicious of it. I'm not going to denounce her. I don't know what her intent or her motive was, because I was not, I don't know that. But I do sense a hesitancy on why she was given, or she felt like she was given that particular way to call in ministering angel. Again, angels are on assignment. I've heard of people calling on angels. I've actually believe I saw my angel thing, and there are warriors. You know that Gabriel and Michael, they've been on assignment when the devil was disputing about Moses when he passed, and he wanted to take Moses' body. Michael came and said, "No, you know that you take your hands off." So we know that they can be on assignment, but from my understanding, they're usually in a region and they're usually on assignment in regards to the word of God. I wouldn't see how angels would need to come from Africa to handle a situation in the United States.
Yeah, me either. I feel like angels have hard territorial regions. You know, I feel like you
Yes.
probably call them, you know, American. I wish I had my own personal angels. I want like lotto angels, you know, like angels that specifically only blessed through lotto, you know, or means like that. Like I never get those angels. I always get
Right.
like you got to pay your
Right.
report angels. I don't like those angels. So is there a divide? So I had a chance and opportunity to watch Roland Martin. He had on the Reverend Jamal Bryant, and then he had on Reverend William Barber.
Yes.
And there's this real tension. I mean, it's always existed, but I think now it's just imploded between the evangelicals and the quote unquote black church. Is that a
Yes.
real thing? And then why is that?
I believe it's if we go back to the even the early formation of the Church of God in Christ, if I just want to pick one denomination under the Protestant umbrella, if we look at Church of God in Christ, from my understanding of history, Church of God in Christ history, when C.H. Mason started the Church of God in Christ, he had many brothers of other persuasions who came in under the umbrella Church of God in Christ. He was ordaining ministers and they worship together, different races, different ethnic groups, different cultures worship together, and he even ordained other ministers. But at some point, there was a decision made by the other group, the majority group in this country, to separate themselves from Church of God in Christ, and then they started their own denomination. Now, not saying that to say this, there's always been opportunities where were able to come together, and then it was opportunities where the enemy, and I'm just going to say it like it is, the enemy does not want us to have unity within the body of Christ. And I think that, and it shows itself at these critical junctures during when we have these cultural and political upheavals. It shows itself. You know how you can have on a dress that fits well or whatever, and you know nobody can see what's going on, but then can get to a point where things get out of hand or that seam starts to stretch and you had never paid attention to it before, and the next thing you know, there's a rupture, there's a dissonance between the groups. So I think that that's what's happened here, and we've seen it down through the ages. um we've seen it down through the ages, but I think this particular president, and then the direction that the Republican Party decided to take in regards to supporting this president, really showed the divide, the divisiveness of Christian denomination. Oftentimes, and I'm running on, shouldn't do I won't do sound bites, but oftentimes when you talk about evangelicals, the majority population, they're not even thinking about African Americans, and and in the Kojic Church and in Christian Pentecostal denominations in general, or we're pretty conservative. We are pretty evangelical means to evangelize, to spread the gospel, to tell the good news. So certainly we agree with that. So where do the divisions come in? Well, the divisions start coming in when other things that doesn't have anything to do with gospel and promoting the gospel comes in, and they take first and center, front and center in that particular group's dogma or what they're talking about. So, saying all that to say this, I think that there's a really critical divide, and I think a lot of us we were drawn to, and I've heard so many people say it down through the years, how come we don't do like the predominant or the majority group do within our churches? So they're building hospitals, they have universities, they have this and that and the other. Why don't we do it? And then when racial integration allowed us, we went back to associating ourselves with that majority population, because we thought that that showed some status, I think, in moving ahead. I'm going in like 4 different directions, but it all come back in. But the bottom line, I think, is that when it gets down to it, uh, as African Americans or black and brown population or people of color, we have to understand that we're not a monolith. We don't all believe the exact same thing, although we're all Christians and we all profess to be following the precepts and example of Christ. But you have to be critical and suspect when some people can be all fired up over one or two issues,
Right.
but two or three others, it doesn't bother them. It doesn't bother them that we're being disenfranchised. I don't mind. I want you to vote, and I want you to let me vote. I want to live in whatever community I can afford to live in, and that I would choose to live in. I don't want you being afraid of me moving to a quote unquote suburb because you think I'm gonna do something to you. And if we're Christians like we say we are, we wouldn't have those issues.
Do you think that the way that the kind of evangelical talk track has manifested itself, has that hurt Christianity as a whole? Right, like when you go to evangelize, and you're reaching out and you're trying to connect with any and everybody, right? And then they ask you, well, I wouldn't have a problem with Jesus except this particular group that says that they love Christ too, is against immigration, is against, fair housing, is against economic policies that would benefit all, is against really equality just overall. And if they're supposed to represent Jesus, why should I join? Right? Like, have you had to have that conversation lately? And if so, how do you pivot?
Well, definitely. Well, one of my go-to groups, especially on the coming up to the election and during the election night, I was texting three young people on my iPhone. I was in Roland Martin's chat room. I was talking to my brother off and on by phone call. I had Fox News on. I had MSNBC. I had CNN going back and forth. Just to get, I like to have a well-rounded sense of what different individuals' viewpoints are, and so what I began to see is that we've come to the place in this country where we it's not the media per se, but it is the role of the communication devices that we use and getting these messages out. And we get so many disparate and so many different messages, and people that don't really read the Bible, they just heard somebody preach something one time. I heard this man say something one time, then they don't understand what's going on. And there's so many opinions out here. But I think that with the evangelical church, I believe that there's going to be a. I'm not prophesying. It just I have a feeling that there's going to be a greater divide within the majority population evangelical church, and the African American community. I think that just like Kojic had to break off from the Assemblies of God in the early 1900s, I think some of that's going to happen again with these evangelicals. Because I used to, love, we were all on different, watching the different channels, the different televangelists, and those that were, saying most of the same things we were saying. But then when it came down to whether or not, but I don't want you to live in my neighborhood, or I don't want you to be able to have a free and open election. I don't want. I want you to pull yourself up by your bootstraps like we had to. Well, no, you never had to do what we've had to do in this country. We didn't even have the boots to pull ourselves up on our bootstraps in many places. And so it was a lot of things that prevented us from being able to have the success that they were having in this country. And so now they feel like they're being disenfranchised because they thought that we were progressing, or that the government was giving us more assistance, and they weren't getting as much.
No, that's absolutely right. It's the myth, I say, of hard work, right? This pull yourself up by bootstraps. It's like, but you at the Homestead Act, you at the GI Bill, like that's reparations. Like, it's literally like just the wrong messaging. When you think of, our brothers and sisters, I was watching, all the way leading up until when they finally declared President-elect Biden the winner.
And they claim they haven't declared it yet.
Right. I was watching TBN, and Kenneth Copeland Ministries. I'm not like, you had people prophesying that Trump would win. And like, what bothers me is that I'm not saying, because God has used prophets to speak to policy. I mean, it's all throughout the Bible, absolutely, all throughout the Book of Kings. But I don't think there's a lot of Elijahs just walking around, or Isaiahs, right? And then when he saw the king, when Uzziah died, he saw the Lord. I don't think that's happening too often. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but when you see that, isn't it a little disingenuous? Doesn't it take away from the gospel messages? Like, instead of all this and these so many different issues, you're focused on one person who is absolutely harmful. Like what, like, how does that just make you feel? And then we'll pivot to Joe Biden in a little bit.
Okay. Well, what I kind of thought about, and what I think about in regards to politics, because I'm a person, I've always been interested in politics, not as a candidate, but just as a regular citizen, but also as a Christian. What we're supposed to be about as Christians, as people of God, is to promote kingdom work in the earth realm. We're supposed to make sure that if there's a person in need, not just social issues, but if that person needs housing, if that person needs health care, if they sick, and when I even think about the story of the Good Samaritan, one of the keys to that story that I like to have people pay attention to in regards to politics is the Samaritan was the one that stopped to help the man that was injured. It wasn't the other Samaritan. What's critical about the Samaritan? Samaritans weren't supposed to have anything to do with Jewish people. He was more, should have been more emboldened to lead a man on the side of the road. But he stopped and he helped. Why? Because the core of what Jesus wants us to do, and the core of that parable is that we have to love our neighbors as ourselves. And whatever we need to do to accomplish that, that's what kingdom work is. Making sure that people know that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, and that that we do God's will, his ministry, his kingdom on earth. Now, jump back to politics. So if that particular candidate is not about, I'm not talking about them doing kingdom work, because they may or may not be
Right.
a Bible believer or saved, as we say. They may not have salvation, but what are they going to do to further making sure that people have what they need, so that people can eat, so that people have houses, so people can have health care? And if they're not about those kinds of things, or they feel like they don't, it ain't got nothing to do with me, I got mine, you get yours, then that's probably a candidate that I'm not interested in. And with Kenneth Copeland and them, I mean, it's always been. Now I hear some people say that prosperity ministry, and they try to equate that. Is that I don't think that he has a prosperity ministry, because I believe the same thing too. If you give, it'll be given back to you 30, 60, and 100 folds. I believe in, if you pay your tithes, or if you give your offering to into the service of the Lord, for kingdom work, for ministry work, to even assist the man or woman of God. I believe that that's called for in the Bible. But I do believe that it's not a negative connotation on somebody's character if they're not able to accumulate wealth, if they have not been able to ascend to the highest realms of leadership. So that's what politics is all about. Politics is the art or the process of speaking truth to power. It's supposed to be. It's the opportunity for individuals at a lower state to have some type of effect or efficacy on those that are in power or in government places, or government officials. Most of us are not billionaires, and so a billionaire might be able to affect some kind of influence on the government. But we can come together, as in the millions and thousands of us, thousands and millions of us did, and vote. And our vote can carry the weight and the power of a billionaire. So that's the importance of us being aware of politics and what the value of politics can be. And as a Christian, I don't think we have to separate. There's a separation of church and state, but there should be no separation in our mind of how influence and political power. We should be able to speak truth to power, or effect truth to power. And I think that's what's important about politics.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Well, look, I'm making no. I don't pull punches. I voted for Joe Biden, right? I like, I think him and Madam Vice President elect Kamala Harris was just the right choice. I mean, I don't think you can argue it either or, right? But so that's who I voted for, and I was excited. I'm motivated, but a feeling came over me. And I think after Saturday, like Sunday, that we have to make sure this just isn't a symbolic gesture, right? Like I totally agree. It's about time we've had a female woman vice president. We need a woman president. I totally believe in that. But I also think if we're not careful, we'll lose all the energy that we built up, right? So January 20th, he comes in office. What does President-elect Joe Biden have to do? I mean, like, what is absolutely essential? Like, this is the first thing he has to do before he takes a meeting with the Joint Chiefs, before he gets the nuclear codes. He has to do this. What is that?
Well, certainly, the pandemic, and addressing the health inequities and disparities, and that's associated with this pandemic. It doesn't go without saying, when Barack Obama came into office, he came in under the worst economic downturn in the United States had since the Great Depression. So now we have Biden and Kamala Harris coming in, and they're coming in at a time where one of the most troubling pandemics across this country and across the world, and the effects of the pandemic. So he has to address that. in that sense, how he addresses it is going to be crucial. Certainly, there's going to be all of the health disparities that we've seen that we knew were there. I worked in social service and social services, health management for 35 years or so, and I knew that there were health disparities. You know that they everything from children and families not having access to healthy foods, and all the way up to not having good health care, not having access to the information that they needed in order to have healthy lifestyles. So we always knew it was going to be disparities. We always knew that there's a disproportionate number of African Americans or people of color who work in essential services. So when all of those numbers start coming back about African Americans and those of color were getting COVID at a higher percentage than others. I mean, those were the individuals that had to keep going to work. A lot of them that couldn't stay home. I
Right.
mean, they were working in the field and jobs that require them to keep going out there and not, shelter in place and lock down and I'm working on my computer today, that kind of thing. So we knew that it wasn't just the fact that they were African American and people of color. Then they tried to put it on obesity, and I'm not saying when they looked at all of the risk factors of people who were dying from COVID. I think it was about 5 or 6 of them. Looked like I had 4 of them, Brother Kelly. I was like, man, like they got me all lined up in here. But
Mm-hmm.
the bottom line is it's about the way healthcare is apportioned in this country. He's got to take a handle on that. He's not for universal health care. So I'm hoping that this the Supreme Court doesn't knock down and really take an Affordable Care Act out. But if they don't and they leave it intact, then I believe that the most critical thing for him to do day one is to start on working on the pandemic, to stop talking all crazy and be the person to use the bully pulpit to talk about wearing these masks and getting this pandemic under control. And it can get under control if
Mm-hmm.
they would listen to the scientists. Like I said, I worked in health management. Now we didn't have the coronavirus, which is airborne, but I was working in Head Start over 7 centers, over 750 children, training teachers and staff to make sure their healthcare is intact and their sanitation services and things were intact in the Joliet Will County area. And I can tell you, we went through H1N1, we went through SARS, we went through the other virus that causes the intestinal diseases. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of things that we've been through. A lot of people didn't know that they were going through them. There was a big resurgence of diphtheria that came through a few years ago, where adults were actually contracting diphtheria, and they were giving it to infants and mothers who were had young children, and the young children were being hospitalized, and some died. So we've always had these health issues that come up, but the bottom line is they weren't ignored. There were policies put in place, clear policies. The CDC was the gold standard. You could go online and pull up a CDC regulatory guideline for almost anything you had to deal with. I mean, and it would change every day, every week as they got more information. They would post it, and you could follow it to keep people safe. Well, we had a gentleman, this president that now his hopefully will not hopefully will be out of office come January 20th, who just
Right.
totally ignored what the scientists were saying. So that's the number one thing. And jobs with that pay a living wage, pay a living wage. And I never thought about somebody making $15 an hour uh I never thought that it would be important, but you know what? When that lady or that gentleman bring me my groceries, when I pick up that phone and order my groceries Instacart or
Mhm.
whatever I'm using, and they bring them groceries to my house, I am so happy. I am ecstatic, and I want them to get their $15 an hour.
Yeah, me
You
too.
know,
It should be 20. You know, like,
yeah,
it should be 20. You know,
look,
when
whatever
it
the pocket of bear.
right when it comes to that, and we'll shift to the economy. Want to tackle this last question for in health. Um, there are believers who don't believe in medicine. There's Christians that don't. I mean, like they have a very negative stance. They feel like it's not faith if you take medicine, right? It's not you're not operating in faith, which is
Mm-hmm.
everybody has the title to their opinion, right? I'm not here to argue that.
That's
Uh,
true.
even though I believe God has gifted humanity with science, and therefore it is faith. But okay, so if Pfizer released this week that they're 90% complete, or that their vaccine takes care of 90% of the ailments that would be associated with COVID-19. So basically, they're kind of in that last phase, right? And we're building up to
Right.
basically release a vaccine. Probably, I would say, it might be out as early as Christmas, New Year's, definitely before March of 2021.
Right.
um the vaccine comes out. Do you, as a leader in the body of Christ, do you tell your congregation to get vaccinated? Right? Is that something that should be stated over the pulpit, or is that out of bounds for the church?
Um, I don't think it's out of bounds for the church to provide as much information to our congregants as possible. And then they should be able to make that decision. Personally, myself, I think that a valid vaccine that's been proven, that's not been shortchanged going through the process, but actually been tested the way it's supposed to be and appropriate, and where a panel of scientists agree that that particular vaccine has some efficacy at 91%. You can't hardly beat that. Measles, I told you I'm familiar with children. The measles shot that we've been giving children for years is only 95% effective. And flu shots sometimes came in at less than that, 89, 87%. So to have a vaccine for this particular virus that's coming in at 91% on average is tremendous. It is tremendous. What I think that it's just like last few weeks, Pastor Fears was saying, I want everybody to that can and will go out and vote. I want you to go out and vote. If a few weeks ago, if you haven't registered, make sure you registered. If you don't know where your polling place is, find out where your polling place is. If they have early voting in your area, everybody go to vote. It's your right, and he promoted that. And I would think he would do the same thing in regards to a valid, well tested vaccine. He wouldn't say, go get it. If you don't get it, you ain't safe, or nothing like that. But
Mm.
it's there, and it's an opportunity for you to use it. And you should um, um, get it done. It's going to help everybody. It's going to help everybody. Um, I've seen in the last few years, like I said, in working with children and families about the parents taking their children back to get their immunizations and things of that nature, and they refused to get them because they had heard that the vaccine was causing hyperactivity, or that the vaccine was causing autism and different things like that, which was false information. And that's what we have to be concerned about, making sure that if we got clear information, clear studies that have been done, and that everybody can read what's been tested, and it's going through all the trials. I think we should be able to recommend that the congregants and the members get the vaccine. I think we should be able to recommend it. Now, if they don't get it and they want to believe God, that's their right. That's their right. But I believe that God gives man the intelligence, and he will give man the ability to address these issues. And I always thought with this pandemic that God was going to give it to somebody. He was going to give it to somebody what to do, how to do, because this thing just it's not new to Earth. It's just new to this area. It's been hiding over there in them bats somewhere in the Asian continent, and they had it, and somehow or another it got into the human chain, and it's now being distributed all over the world. And because it's a novel virus, it's new to everybody, then that's why people are so sick. They didn't have any treatments. They don't know how the virus acts, what it does, what's the long-term effects. So that's all what's going on here. But I believe vaccines work. I believe that they can be beneficial to mankind. I mean, think about it. I'm a boomer. I'll be 65 in December. Yay. But I can remember some of my classmates that had withered limbs or who were crippled from polio. You guys, you don't have that, memory, because it wasn't a part of your being around. And I was born and raised in Chicago. I'm not from down yonder. I'm not down from, nowhere but Chicago. And I had classmates who had withered limbs and had some paralysis because of polio. So when they herded us all up in those gymnasiums and in those parks and different places and gave us them inoculations, we were glad to get them, because our parents, that's all they used to tell us: don't play in that dirty water, you're gonna get the polio. That's all they do. Don't play in the dirty water, you're gonna get the polio. So when nobody run around talking about we ain't gonna take the polio shot. So we have to be careful what we denigrate and downgrade when the Lord have necessarily told you that. But again, if one have faith and believe that they can eat herbs, and the other one don't think they can eat herbs, and one, hey, don't eat none.
I love it. That's Bible right there. So let's shift to the economy. So I have very progressive ideas, right? Personally, I believe the fight.
AOC.
Yeah, I'm a coaching version of AOC. I really am. But I do believe in the fight for 15. I do believe that places individuals right above the poverty line. And I get it. You can't force, especially on smaller businesses, such a demand. I think that's easier for like a Walmart, an Amazon, like your larger enterprises that have the capital to do that. But at the same time, income as a whole has to rise, or these not standard, but the cost of living has to decrease. So what I've been always a proponent of, and since Andrew Yang has mentioned it, is universal basic income, right? Whether it's $500 a month, whether it's $1,000 a month, whether it's preferred at $2,000 per month, what it basically does, it offsets a lot of those imbalances. So if you keep the cost of living the same, you add or put in $2,000 a month per adult in the household. So, $4,000, like April and I, right? That'd be an extra $4K. So, all those things, flat tires, emergencies, that kind of goes by the way. And the money basically gets reinvested back into the economy, because you're going to spend it. You're going to save some, but you're going to spend and take care of what you have to take care of.
Right.
Should the body of Christ, or is that more of an individual thing? Should we push for more or a subsidized income for the federal government? Because I know if you come, like you said, if you're a conservative, that's an automatic no, right? Like that government income, there's a lot of people are like, what? But the reality is there's too much disparity. I mean, we've always had gaps, but now we have gaps, right? Like, we have $1 trillion corporations, we have billionaires trying to become trillionaires, and at the same time, you have this deepened state of poverty. Do you think universal basic income is a good idea?
Yeah, I love some of those ideas that Andrew Yang, who was one of the candidates for president, that he put forth. Thought they were excellent. Being able to move from Andrew Yang to where we are now is a great gap. Look, the United States has the one of the highest GDPs in the country. I mean, in the world, one of the highest gross domestic product production, one of the biggest economies in the world, but only the top 10%, the top 10% control most of that capital, and then another 50, the next 50% of them, so that's the top 60%, basically control most of that capital. Everybody else, we've diminished the middle class. The middle class, think about it. When probably when your grandfather was coming along, and your mother, not as much, but your grandfather, when you could actually get a job, working at a company, and work at a Ford or work at a Lever Brothers or different places like that, and be able to take care of your family. Now, he had a degree, he was a little bit more advanced, Bishop Marshall was, but still, you could get a job there and be able to buy a house, take care of your family, hopefully helps in your children to college. Now we got jobs where they barely pay a living wage. Not enough money to the healthcare costs are escalated, food costs, housing costs, everything is escalating, and nobody is accountable for the income loss. Um, it doesn't make sense. Either the companies or corporations or the small businesses are going to be able to have subsidized wages again for their workers, or the government is going to have to do something, because the government is going to pay for it anyway. If people are not able to make a living wage to pay for health care, then their health care needs are either going to go unmet. They're going to end up in an emergency room where somebody is paying for that,
Mhm.
or they're going to end up on unemployment lines, unemployment rolls where they can't find jobs, things of that nature. They're not making enough money. If you don't have a can buy real estate, that's even. I don't care how big your house is, whether you split level by level, you know, 4, 5 bedrooms, 2 or 3 attached garage. If you can't have that basic income to generate some wealth, you don't even have money to maybe start a business yourself or to send your children to college. So those inequities. Look, when they sent that stimulus package out, I had wrote it down somewhere, but I don't see it right now. When they sent that stimulus packet out, those quote unquote, and I don't think those people are more so conservative, is that they just mean spirited,
Hmm.
because that $1,200 was supposed to last for 10 weeks, and that the additional $600 that they was giving individuals who were unemployed because of the pandemic was one of the lowest amounts of money of the top tier GDP countries in the world. Canada gave their citizens 1,700, I think, plus dollars a month, and
Mhm.
that went on until this pandemic is over. So did the other countries across the world gave monies out, but we sit up there fighting about it. You know, where they think, if people not able to work, where they gonna get that income from? Where is it coming? The states don't have it, and the states are spending inordinate amount of money, trying to get their schools ready so that the children can go back to school, to pay for PPE, all of those kinds of things. The state, which was not in their budgets. So when our former president was hollering about the blue states and the blue governors that was just on a spending spree. No, they had to take care of a lot of things that the federal government have the resources and the monies to do. I think we need to pay people a living wage. It doesn't make sense And you right, the larger corporations, they never should have been allowed to do it, but we in this free market society, and it's a mentality of, and it's always been that, um, if you do something for somebody, entitlements they call them, but they're not entitlements, but because somebody is paying for that, you know, but if you do something for somebody that they didn't actually work for, then that makes them lazy, or that makes the connotation of they're riding on somebody else's coattails, which is not the case. I would venture to say that when we were slaves, and we were out in the field, somebody was riding on our coattails because we was doing all the work. And then once they could no longer use us in the fields and not pay us, then it was like, get up and go, get out of here. No provision, no 40 acres and a mule, not even a road map of where we were supposed to go.
Right.
And then all of the things after the Jim Crow era and the civil rights era. But when African Americans are able to work, and they find out that there's a place that's hiring, what do you think the whole emphasis of the Great Migration from South to North? When Mr. Ford said in Detroit, "Come on up here and get one of these good jobs making these cars." Them brothers and sisters was getting up out of that South, going north to get those jobs. Same thing in Chicago with all the steel mills and the factories and things. Same thing in the New York area. So when there are good jobs available, African Americans and minorities, they want to work, and they want to see the fruits of their labor by buying a home and having a good car. You know, I can go on and on, but the bottom line is that's what grew this country. That's how we grew the middle class, by the hard work of African Americans and minorities. And it's no other way that this country is going to be successful with leaving a whole swath of people without a means to generate wealth.
Oh, that was well said. First, give us our reparations. But Brother Pierce, I appreciate it. I want to thank my guests so much. Where can they connect with you? What are you doing?
Oh wow, I'm excited. Certainly at Redeem Evangelist, Redeem Enrichment Ministries in Joliet, Illinois. You can find us at www.redeemkojic Ministries. We're going on higher and higher. Elder Eugene Fears Jr. is my pastor superintendent, and I'm excited about the new Jubilee Fellowship. Amen. Illinois Jubilee Fellowship that's starting in the next few weeks or days. It's going forward with Pastor Fears and a number of great elders and leaders that are going to be coming together to join this fellowship. And we're just looking to have a great time in the Lord. So you'll be hearing more about the Illinois Jubilee Fellowship, and certainly Redeemed Church of God in Christ in Joliet, Illinois.
Awesome. Look, connect with them. They're an amazing church. They have an amazing first lady and mother. First lady Deborah Fears. They have an amazing pastor, Eugene Fears. I feel like Redeem is my second home. I feel like even though I'm not a member, I'm an honorary member. Plus, Evangelist Chris Ann Moore said I can sing in the choir. And Elder Maurice has already said he has promised me a solo. So I've been working on my vocal arrangements.
Come on.
My auto-tune mic, and I'm ready to go. I'm ready to lead all praise and worship songs. Connect with them. It's been a amazing episode. Yes. Next week's episode, we are doing a special episode on the holidays. It's going to be a fun one.
Wow.
I have another fitness episode coming because, guys, I get it. The holiday season is here, but this isn't the time to just destroy all dieting. So we got to appreciate it, Brother Pierce. Thank you so much, you guys. Until next time.
Thank you so much for having me. God bless you.
God bless. Bye.
God bless. Bye.